Welcome. What does it look like when you run the Challenger playbook almost to perfection? Well, it looks a lot like what Shibumi has done. You may have never heard of Shibumi, but it's taking over the beaches of North Carolina, South Carolina, and it will soon be coming to a beach near you. So let's dive in. All right, welcome. I'm off of a 3-day weekend where I hit the beach with my Shibumi shade and my family. And if you haven't seen the Shibumi shade, you soon will at your beach. It's pretty simple design. Basically, it's a sunshade. Here's a picture of it. It's a sunshade powered by the wind. It's super easy to set up. It's very lightweight, and it's growing very popular. If you haven't, like I said, if you haven't seen it at your beach, you will soon see your beach looking like this, and this is a picture of a beach probably in North Carolina or South Carolina, and it's just filled with people using the Shibumi shade because it's so easy to use. And the reason why I want to talk about today is because they ran the Challenger playbook to perfection. And so I just want to talk about what that looks like and what it would mean for your business. And to get us started here, I'm going to go over this article that was in Slate. Just off of Axis 29 in Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina, Sandra Parker and her sisters hid from the smoldering sun. Years back, Parker's husband had injured his head on a broken metal rod from a beach canopy, so when they noticed a new flapping blue fabric in Emerald Isle, North Carolina in 2020, they figured they'd give the Shibumi shade a try. It's a lot easier for us old folks, Parker said. Staking a claim of beach real estate on a Saturday in June can be a competitive sport. Parker's sister, Jennifer Pugh, said the roomy Shibumis can crowd the beach but don't obstruct views. Shibumi users are more considerate, Pugh said, than 10 people who she noted are notorious for setting up camp at sunrise and leaving it unattended for large parts of the day. That's because they're harder to put up, Parker chimed in. This is easier. A few yards across the hot sand, Ken Wood sat beneath his own cool tone shade, AirPods in, slouched in a matching cobalt beach chair. He and his wife had secured the most convenient spot closest to Stone Street, having driven from Raleigh for a day trip that morning. Once an umbrella guy, Wood bought a Shibumi a couple of years ago and never looked back. I wish I invented it because I'd be a very rich man, he said, which I have said myself many times. I wish I'd invented this. His purchase came with several business cards that he passed out to curious beachgoers who asked about it. Back then, we went through 4 or 5 business cards. Not that anyone would need a card now. Along the North Carolina coastline, Shibumis have become inescapable. On Memorial Day, the Shibumi's teal and royal blue emblems rival the American flag. If you find yourself on the Carolina coast on July 4th, count for yourself to see which wins. The homegrown brand has conquered North Carolina beaches and is now on a quest to claim even more territory. Thousands of miles of coastline have yet to be Shibumified. With oomph from an outside investor and a zealous fan base, Shibumi's next offensive, world domination. And so how it got started. It was a few North Carolina inlanders who transformed the state's coastline. Tired of lugging clunky equipment on their annual family vacations to Emerald Isle, brothers Dane and Scott Barnes, along with their best friend Alex Slater, rigged a prototype in 2015. The University of North Carolina Chapel Hill grads thrust their Crescent PVC pipe shade into the sand, and beachgoers took to it almost immediately. The trio put together 32 orders the next summer, called it the Shade Wave, and used a sewing machine for the first batch. In 2017, they renamed it Shibumi, a Japanese concept of simplicity and homage to their college apartment complex of the same name, and sold 178. So they went from 32 orders to 178, followed by 2,000 in 2018. Exact sales numbers thereafter aren't clear, but Shibumi recently disclosed it sold more than 300,000 total units in the past 8 years. Assuming a retail price of $250, that's roughly $75 million in sales. The spread has been likened to kudzu, an invasive vine that's taken over the South, or as one particular snarky Reddit user described it, a plague. Like it or not, the Shibumi has revolutionized the beach shade industry, at least in North Carolina. Take one step into the state's coastlines and you're surrounded by free Shibumi advertising. Shibumis have popped up on at least 800 beaches around the world based on the team's tracking. The site asks customers at checkout which beach they visit. The brand's growth strategy is to nudge loyalists to return to its expanding suite of variants and add new customers in nearby regions. An international takeover could be on the horizons, but Carey said American sand will come first. Let's get the Florida and California beaches looking like the Carolinas, and we'll talk about Australia, he said. South Carolina, Georgia, and Texas are the Shibumi's other top target markets. Barnes says Shibumi enlists drone operators to scope out footage of the product and use not only as a visual marketing tool, but also as a way to study customer preferences. We want to understand what the concentration is, he said. The best way to sell a Shibumi is for someone to see it on the beach because it sells itself. All right, moving on in the article, Shibumi 2.0. In the early days, customers could buy Shibumis only directly from the company's website or via few carefully selected local retailers. Shibumi regularly sold out of inventory. They're now available in 360 retail stores, including Dick's Sporting Goods, REI, and a number of beach and hardware stores. The brand finally joined Amazon in 2022, and the retailer's listing shows that 6,000 of the classic shade sold in May of this year. The biggest source of sales comes from Amazon or directly from Shibumi's website, followed by brick and mortar retailers. In May 2022, Shibumi released the Mini, a smaller, lighter, and less expensive version of its original shade. Shibumi added $50 Luxe towels into the mix last year, and this year began rolling out new product variants, part of a three-pronged approach to address customer feedback. And when Shibumi's droop in windless days, there's the $28 Wind Assist, an accessory that attaches the edges of the shade to anchor them to the sand. For folks who find Shibumis too loud, there's the $275 Quiet Canopy, a new fabric that promises to dampen the noise. And most earth-shatteringly, for those wanting an option other than blue, there's the new sunset theme pink and orange colorway, which Shibumi unveiled in May. The founders toyed with the idea of offering different colors previously, but they stayed committed to blue, a strategic marketing choice that's sure to be studied. Breaking from blue, deep water, shallow water, Barnes says, is part of the brand's plan to generate interest in new markets. Because Shibumis aren't quite a tent or canopy, they seem to be primed for the Xerox effects. That is, when a product is so pervasive that the brand name rather than the product type is used in casual language. I'm amazed all the time when we hear from parents of young children that they are preschool and kindergarten age and they're learning to write and they draw a picture of the beach. They're always putting in a Shibumi. They know the word Shibumi. I wanted to talk about Shibumi, not because I just want to talk about the beach or think about my old beach vacation, but because I've been running the Challenger Playbook almost to perfection. And what do I mean by that? Well, number one, they differentiated. I mean, people who say you don't need to differentiate, that, I mean, that's silly. They differentiated, but how did they do it? They did it based on their customers' needs and their competitor weaknesses. They know when you look at a tent or you use a tent on the beach, they can be very heavy and they can be challenging to set up and need multiple people. And then the same thing's true when you want to break it down. They're heavy and they're tough to break down. And if you look at a beach umbrella, those can be blown away and don't provide that much shade. So they created a product that was differentiated based on the customer's needs and their competitor weaknesses. Two, they're the best. They provide the best sunshade out there. And if you look at reviews in the New York Times or Forbes, I mean, they're just raving about this product. So they're the best at providing an easy to use sunshade. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. We love our Shibumi. My in-laws love their Shibumi. My wife can set it up herself when she takes the kids to the beach. It's just a great product. And then they validated their product market fit. And how do they do that? Well, you can see it in the word of mouth, the outstanding word of mouth, which is how they grew their business. And two, the fact that people just view this as almost a miracle in terms of a sunshade. Like it's just not like anything that ever existed before. You just carry it down to the beach in a bag and you have it set up in like less than 5 minutes and anyone can do it. So they validated their product market fit through that word of mouth and through just the outstanding reviews and the, people's emotional reaction to be able to do this. And then four, they created a very distinctive product. It's interesting in that article, they talk about their colors and the color of their shade really stands out. It's this dark blue and teal. And you see them everywhere on the beach. They're very distinctive. You know you're buying a Shibumi shade. And when you see them out on the beach, you know it's all the same product. And so by maintaining that similar color pattern, they're able to build this distinctive product, which sells itself. And then they're growing by capturing their competitors' customers. I mean, all their buyers, you heard it in that article, they were using another product before. They're using another sunshade product before. And so Shibumi's growing by going after their competitors' customers. I mean, that's the easiest way to win when you're a new product, not by trying to find new people who are looking for sunshades, but going out and providing a better product. I mean, they created their differentiation based on competitors' weaknesses, and so it's really easy to sell into that market. The other thing I really like about it, from especially from a challenger standpoint, is that they're getting better what they're best at already. The two sort of complaints about the Shibumi shade is that one is that when the wind doesn't blow, it doesn't provide well, it can provide no shade; it just droops. And so they created a wind assist add-on. And then the other thing is it can be loud in windy conditions, and so they're creating a fabric that's quieter. And so yes, they introduced luxury towels. I would not encourage them to do that. I think just getting better at what they're best at, so they continue to be the best in the world at providing easy to use sunshades, is the key here. And so I'm glad to see that they're focusing on that. And then finally, they're growing by opening new markets. And so they're going to the next beach, the next beach, the next beach. And so this is an easy way for them to grow, not introducing new products, but just by opening these new markets that are adjacent to where they are now. It's the next beach over, or it's the next state over. And so they're really running this challenger playbook very, very well. And that's something that we should be doing. If you're a challenger brand, you should learn from Shibumi and see what you can do to grow your brand in a very similar fashion. How can you be best in the world at something where your competitor is weak? Because you're going to be growing by stealing your competitors' customers. How do you keep a distinct product? How do you validate product market fit? I mean, Shibumi is answering all these questions, and it gives us an opportunity to build a product in a similar way. So you want to make sure you have that word of mouth to validate you have that product market fit, that people have these outstanding reviews. And I just think it's so important that you continue to be better at what you're best at. Make sure that you maintain that competitive advantage. All right, 7 things to copy from Shibumi. Number 1, differentiate based on customer needs and your competitor weaknesses. 2, be the best in the world at that. Create an exceptional product. 3, validate your product market fit by seeing that there's word of mouth, strong word of mouth, and really like emotional response to your product. 4, maintain your distinctiveness. 5, grow by capturing your competitors' customers. 6, get better at what you're great at already. Continue to invest in getting better at what you're doing. And 7, just open adjacent markets, and that's how you can grow your business.